Before you watch Sandokan, there are 7 facts you really need to know. And honestly, some of them make this series way more interesting than most people realize. This is not just another costume drama, not just another pirate story, and definitely not just another John Yaman project. In this video, we're breaking down the 7 biggest facts that completely change how you look at Sandokan before episode 1 even begins. So if you're excited for Sandokan, make sure you subscribe, and if you want to support the channel even more, don't forget to check out the join button below. Now let's get into it. Let's start with the first fact. Sandokan is not some brand new random character created for streaming. A lot of newer viewers may think Sandokan is just a flashy modern action hero built around John Yaman's screen presence. But actually, Sandokan comes from a much older and much more legendary source. This character is rooted in the famous adventure novels of Emilio Salgari. And in Italy especially, Sandokan already has a long cultural history. That means this series is not just launching a new fictional universe out of nowhere. It's reviving a story that already carries nostalgia, mythology, and expectations. And that matters a lot. Because when you watch Sandokan, you're not just watching a new show trying to find its identity. You're watching a modern reinterpretation of something that already means a lot to many people. For older fans, this is a return. For newer fans, this is an introduction. And for John Yaman, it means stepping into a role that already has legacy attached to it. So from the very beginning, Sandokan is playing a much bigger game than a regular action series. Now the second fact. Sandokan is not really just a pirate story. This is one of the biggest misconceptions. The marketing images, the costumes, the sea adventure energy. All of that can make people assume this is basically just a pirate fantasy with swords, ships, and a handsome lead. But the story is much deeper than that. At its core, Sandokan is tied to resistance, power, colonial pressure, and the fight against oppression. That changes everything. Because suddenly the story is not just about one heroic man having adventures. It becomes a story about conflict between worlds. It becomes about identity, freedom, and rebellion. That gives the character much more weight. It also gives the action more meaning. When Sandokan fights, it's not just for spectacle. It's tied to a larger cause. And that's one reason this project has so much potential. If the series really leans into that side of the story, Sandokan could feel much more epic and emotional than people expect. Not just entertaining but meaningful. Now here's fact number 3. The setting is a huge part of why Sandokan feels different. This story is set in 19th century Borneo. And that detail matters more than people think. Why? Because it gives Sandokan a visual and thematic identity that separates it from so many other historical dramas. This is not Europe in a palace. This is not a generic fantasy kingdom. This is not just another period romance in familiar locations. Sandokan lives in a world of tropical danger, colonial tension, jungle energy, and maritime power. That world can make the series feel fresh. If it's done well, the setting alone can become one of the show's greatest strengths. The landscapes, the costumes, the cultural clash, the mood. All of it can create a much more immersive experience. And for viewers who are tired of seeing historical dramas that all look the same, Sandokan may actually offer something visually richer and more adventurous. So before you watch, remember this. The setting is not background decoration. It's part of the show's identity. Now let's get to fact number 4. Sandokan is not only grounded in action and politics, it also has a mythic side. This is where things get really interesting. Because beyond the battles and the romance, Sandokan also carries the feeling of destiny. There is a larger symbolic energy around the character. He's not just a man reacting to events. He feels like someone moving toward something bigger, something almost legendary. And that's powerful for a series like this. When a hero has that mythic dimension, the story instantly feels larger. It feels less like episode after episode of events, and more like the rise of a figure people are meant to remember. Viewers love that kind of energy. It's one of the reasons iconic characters stay with people. They don't just survive scenes, they feel chosen by the story itself. If Sandokan captures that properly, it can elevate John Yaman's performance too. Because then he isn't just playing a strong man with charisma. He's playing a character with legend around him. And that can hit very differently on screen. Fact number 5. The romance is not a side plot. It's one of the engines of the whole story. A lot of people hear action-adventure and assume the love story is just there to soften the main plot a little. But with Sandokan, the central relationship is actually a major part of the emotional structure. This isn't just decorative romance. It's conflict. It's tension. It's risk. It's impossible attraction in the middle of a much larger struggle. And that matters because romance is often what gives a series replay value. People may come for John Yaman, the visuals, and the action. But the emotional attachment often grows because of the relationship dynamic. That's what makes fans talk, edit scenes, debate chemistry, and stay invested between episodes. If Sandokan gets the romance right, it won't just have action fans. It will have emotionally hooked viewers too. And let's be honest, that's where John has often been strongest. Combining strong screen presence with emotional intensity. So the love story in Sandokan is not some extra bonus. It may end up being one of the main reasons the show connects with a wide audience. Now fact number 6. Sandokan was clearly built with international ambition. This is not a small local production hoping to travel later. The structure, the format, the casting choices, and the overall presentation all suggest that Sandokan was designed to move across borders. It has that polished international series energy. It wants to look big. It wants to feel exportable. It wants to attract viewers beyond just one country. That is a huge deal. Because when a series is built for international attention, expectations go up. But so does opportunity. It means more people are watching how it lands. More platforms may care. More press may talk about it. And for John Yaman that matters a lot. Because Sandokan is not just another role in his career. It can function as a major international positioning move. And honestly, this is one reason fans are watching so closely. They know Sandokan could be one of those projects that shifts perception. Not just John Yaman in a new series, but John Yaman in a globally visible role with franchise potential. That's a different level of pressure, and a different level of excitement. And now fact number 7. The cast and scale suggests Sandokan wants to be more than a fan project. Sometimes a series gets attention mainly because one star is attached to it. But Sandokan feels bigger than that. The surrounding cast, the production effort, the world-building ambition. It all points to something that wants to stand on its own, not just borrow fame from one actor. And that is exactly what fans should want. Because if Sandokan works as a complete series, that's much better than it only working as a vehicle for John. A truly strong show needs multiple characters people care about, real tension, believable villains, emotional stakes, and a world that feels alive. Sandokan seems to be aiming for that. And if it succeeds, the conversation around the show will be much bigger than "look at John in costume." It will become about whether the series itself delivers as a major historical adventure drama. That's the real prize. So when you put all 7 facts together, Sandokan starts to look much bigger than some people assume. It's not just a pirate fantasy. It's not just a romance. It's not just a star vehicle. It's a legacy adaptation, a colonial-era conflict story, a visually rich historical world, a mythic hero journey, an emotional romance, an internationally aimed production, and a series that wants to leave a real mark. And honestly, that's why so many people are curious. Because if Sandokan gets all of this right, it could become one of the most important projects in John Yaman's career. Not just because of hype, but because of what the role represents. It asks him to carry action, intensity, romance, symbolism, and global expectation all at once. That is not small. So before you watch Sandokan, keep these 7 facts in mind, because they might completely change how you see the series from the very first scene. Which of these 7 facts surprised you the most? And what are you personally expecting most from Sandokan? The action, the romance, the world, or John Yaman's performance? If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more John Yaman and Sandokan updates. And if you want to support the channel even more, you can also hit the join button below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.